greatly, and once he got out of the Navy, after serving his 4 years, he got a couple of jobs with what did they call that Peace
Corps.
Peace Corps. He became he became a very senior member of the Peace Corps operation.
Doesn't the Peace Corps? I mean, that's when he was doing that USIA stuff, right? Is that associated or affiliated with that?
I don't know. It could make sense, but I just don't know if they were hooked up anyway.
What does the USAI stand for again? Information Agency?
U.S. Information Agency, yeah.
So it was, as you said, that was the kind of lightweight CIA?
It's they like to say that they used to like to say, at least back in those days, they like to say that it was just a step down from that, yeah. And also very close relations with the FBI.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was back in the day when the FBI was much stronger. J. Edgar Hoover, the founder of the FBI in 1929, I think, he was still hanging on, but he was just amazing. He was a Hitler, he cut people off just like that.
Yeah.
He had a horrible,
Too much.
He had a good but a horrible reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did the Peace Corps take him back to the Philippines?
Yeah. He was the head of the Peace Corps in the Philippines for 4 years. I think it was 4 years with his wife, and that's when he really got hooked up with it, and decided that he wanted to live there, or if not in
Bangkok, right?
Bangkok. Yeah.
Yeah.
He lived 11 years in Bangkok and in Thailand, and 38 years in the Philippines.
So how did his relationship with Peggy sour?
I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't. Peggy was a pretty dry person.
Yeah.
She had a younger sister, 2-3 years younger than she. Carla.
Oh, I saw a letter that referenced Carla. Yeah. Yeah. Did you get a fling with Carla?
Well, the funny thing, no, I didn't. Peggy went to the same high school my dad did, West High School in Minneapolis, and she went to the University of Minnesota, and Carla was much brighter. She went to the girls' Blake Northrop Collegiate School for girls, which have now been merged.
With Blake?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So Blake is now a mixed gender school.
Yeah, it's a mixed gender
Co-ed.
school.
Co-ed.
And they brought 3 schools together, and it's practically a college. It's in terms of numbers.
What was your graduating class at Blake? It was pretty small, right?
29.
29, so Uncle Marsh's would have been the same.
You.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, in that area.
And so was it strange to go to UNC from Blake for Uncle Marsh?
What happened was that Marsh applied to and was accepted at Carleton College, which is a very popular and good college where both my mom, that's where mom and my mom and dad met each other. My dad's mother was a dormitory mother at Carleton.
Oh wow.
And that, because he was, they were from a very poor family, and Helen Thompson Wellington. Thompson was her maiden name.
Oh really?
Yeah, and she got married 3 times. She got married 3 times, and when she knocked off the 3rd person, she went back and changed her name
Back to Thompson.
back to Thompson.
So our name shouldn't be Thompson,
Yeah.
right? I mean, basically. So what was James Thompson's father's name?
Hoffman.
Hoffman.
Yeah.
All right, so that's where the Hoffman comes in. And Hoffman was German or Jewish?
He was, what was his first name? De Leon Hoffman.
De Leon Hoffman.
Yeah.
Was he German or Jewish?
No, he was German.
German.
I thought he was for a while, but it didn't bother me. I finally got it clear that he was just German.
And did he just die prematurely, or did they divorce? Because that divorce couldn't have been a normal thing. Hoffman and Thompson. What was?
She got married 3 times.
So what was James Thompson's mother's name? Helen.
Helen.
Yeah. So Helen and De Leon Hoffman. How did their marriage end? Do you know? Was it death, or was it? Did she knock him off?
She just passed on. I don't know the insides of it. I just know that she had 3.
Did you meet Helen? Was she still alive when you were born?
I have about, I think, 3 letters from her.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be good to read those.
And she wrote a pretty good letter.
So wait, did she take care of you guys after your mom and dad died? Was she still alive?
No, when my dad got very sick, he was sick for 3 years, but when I say sick, he had leukemia for 3 years before he died, and he had a dear sister, Charlotte, and she came and she lived with us for a while, and did what she could. Once Dad was sick, she came from. She lived in Spokane, Washington.
Oh wow!
And and that's where his mother moved as a result of that, because his mother was a dorm parent, and that's how my dad got through college, because she traded being a dorm mother for
his tuition. So was she the dorm parent of Billy Sabach? Is that how? Did they put him in touch, or how did that work out?
Well, she was clear. She attended convent school for her high school when she was in when after the First World War. I think you know the story.
No, I don't.
After the First World War, my maternal grandfather, Oscar Seebach,
He was the colonel, right?
Yeah, and he, and mother. And by the way, my mother's brother, 6 years older, but than she, brother was a West Point graduate and spent his whole life in the U.S. Army, and till the U.S. Air Force, the Army Air Force, sorry.
Army Air Corps, yeah.
He switched from the Army to the Air Force. When the Air Force, shortly after World War II, the Air Force broke off.
Right.
And Uncle Metz, as we used to call him, Uncle Metz
And Aunt Peggy, right?
and Aunt Peggy, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Did they have any part in your lives after your parents passed away? Metz and Peggy?
Not much, really. Look, when it was at crisis time,
Right.
Helen Thompson,
Grandmother came in from Spokane.
yeah, and Charlotte, sister, came in, and
So they died in
Metz and Peggy came once or twice. And I think they were at that time living in Iowa. He had retired by then, and from the Army, the Air Force, and once or twice they came and visited when Mom was not well. Well, no, there was once when they came on a nice visit, but when everything started falling down, they came again once or twice. I don't know how many times, but not more than 2 times. I'm quite sure that they come to help, to try to help out, and Uncle Metz, Charles Metz Seebach, Uncle Metz was quite a nice guy and a very bright guy. He became a bird colonel over the years, and he did have a bit of a drinking problem.
Did he?
Yeah. I mean, I was always going, whoa, he's having another drink in 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Shit.
Yeah.
It gets in the way of getting that first star.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, I'm not sure how he was. Well, he visited us. I can remember. He visited us when I was 8 or 9 in World War II, and yeah, he was quite a character. And he was 6 years older than my mother, and she had a sister who was 12 years older than she.
Oh wow.
And
That's quite a gap.
yeah, that's quite a gap. And she was born in Iowa and reared in Iowa and spent all of her life, and only once or twice came up to see us when we were in Minneapolis. Gretchen. I have no idea what her. Oh yeah. Yes, I do. She married a guy called Drew. I don't know, but I do know.
Last name Drew.
Yeah, last name Drew, and one guy that one of her children, one of Gretchen's children, was a terrific, fun guy called Joseph Drew. Yeah. 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 It's an interesting situation when you look back on it. My grandfather was I think I've told you the story about when my grandfather.
Sebach grandfather.
Yeah, Oscar Sebach, colonel in the U.S. Army, and second generation German American. Okay, so yeah, because a guy called Aaron Fried was the first Sebach that came in from Germany to the States.
So that was Oscar's father.
Yeah, I suspected, I'm not 110% sure, but I'm almost certain that Oscar was Aaron Fried's son. And in the First World, what happened now? Yes, he was a captain in the Mexican War that the United States had. He was a captain in that army, and he got wounded down there. And then in the First World War, they wouldn't let him in. He wanted
because he was German.
Yeah, and what they did do is post him up in North Dakota.
That's right.
Yeah, and made him the director, or whatever you want to call it.
Or the prisoner of war camps.
Yeah, prisoner, the German, exactly. And yeah, and then when that was all over, he had retired, and then he got.
This is like back in 1915, 16.
Yeah, in the First World War, and but when the First World War was over, or armistice, which it wasn't ended. I am not sure how he got the job as being the director or commissioner or whatever they called it of a huge chunk of southwest Germany, and that's I've told you that it was my mother. He brought his family over, his 3 kids,
and that's why Billy learned German.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why Billy learned so much German?
Oh yeah, she learned. She spoke German and French, and I don't know all what she did, but anyhow, he brought his family.
This is Oscar, or this is Eric?
Oscar. Yeah, and
And so that's how your mom ended up speaking such wonderful German.
Mm-hmm.
So she spoke German and French.
Yeah.
Because, what was her French connection then?
She was in convent. You've heard this little piece that the armistice was special, and it's special because the Germans thought they were going to win, no matter what. But the armistice stopped the war. It didn't end the war in the First World War. And Oscar had
the state or something like that?
Yeah, well, you want to make it of a huge chunk of the southwest part of Germany. his family. And Mom had to go to school, of course, as a kid, and she every day practically she'd come home crying because the other kids, as she was walking to school, would talk about however they would say, talk about the dirty Americans, and the others would say, some of the Germans would say that, and my mother got very upset, and Oscar sent my grandfather sent her to Brussels,
For the convent.
to her convent, and Marsh visited the convent.
Really?
Convent, yeah, at one point, yeah, and she that's how she. She did a good job in this Brussels outfit, and that's how she learned her French. My grandfather wanted her to go to the United States, and so that's how she landed in Carleton College and met James Marsh Thompson.
So, when she moved to Germany, how old do you reckon she was?
When she
moved to Germany, so 1915, 16, the war ended.
She was born in 1906.
Right, so she would have been 10, 11 when she moved to Germany. So she must have had quite a...
Well, maybe, remember, the war was 15, 16, 17,
18. So she
Yeah.
would have been, about 13 then, let's call it.
Yeah.
13. And then so she spent from 13 to 18 there between Germany and France. So she moved back to the United States at 18. Probably had a little
Belgium.
bit of...
She was in Belgium.
Yeah. But then she moved back to the United States at 18 for Carleton College. She probably had a funny little accent, you know?
Probably.
That James Thompson was, no snake in the grass. He realized, hey, this European broad here, with a funny accent. And so when they got married, what was that like? Do you know? Do you remember?
They got married. Wait a second. Okay. My father graduated in 1920. When they met, they were 2 years apart. My father graduated in 27, and he did it by jumping over because his mother was a dormitory chief, and he had all his, he rushed himself through.
To get through in 3 years.
Yeah, and Billy graduated just 1 year later in 28, and they got married in 28, and Marsh was born November 12th of 1930.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They didn't mess around there. They got right to work.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, well, my father started at Dayton's department store, and got scrubby-dubby work, but very fast. My mother used to tell the story about how your father made it all the way, and he did. And by the time he was in 1948, 49, when he was really sick, he was considered one of the top 3 or 4 guys in
So let me understand that for a second, Pop. He was born in 1904.
04,
So he died at 44 years old.
45. Wait a minute. 44, 45, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
basically,
right. Mom died at 43.
Basically my age. Yeah.
Yep.
And you said he was quite fit, right? He was a big tennis player. And
Yeah, he used to love to play tennis. He used to love to walk. And no. The only problem that both Marsh and I had with our parents, because we loved the heck out of each other, is they both smoked heavily cigarettes.
Yeah.
We couldn't stand it. We couldn't stand it. It was just.
And at that point, you already knew that cigarettes were bad? Or not really?
Yeah, we just didn't like it. You know, we didn't know that they were. I don't think we knew that they were bad,
Yeah.
but that they were stinky and awful and blech. And you know, butts around the ashtrays and.
But everybody used to smoke then, right?
Yeah. It's much less smoking now than it was about 50 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's very fashionable.
Yeah.
All right, Pop, I'm going to have to go into the, there's curfew tonight.
8:40.
20 minutes to get home. Thanks for the stories. I'll share these with Josh and Jules and Kiko and Alex. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Just a question. So the Carrolls were friends of your parents, is that right?
No.
Oh, they weren't.
They lived.
They lived like down the road, right?
And they were down the road, down Sheridan Street from. We lived up high, and Sheridan Street went down, and quite a bit for 2 blocks, and we lived in one of the best houses at 1936 Kenwood Parkway, and Judge Carroll and his wife and daughters lived on the corner of Sheridan and whatever the other street was. They were on the corner, and they had a very nice house. And Judge Carroll was people would they just thought he was
The bee's knees.
yeah, and he was very nice, very nice. And Peggy was somebody who didn't think she had enough.
What do you mean?
Because she only went to West High School, which was my father's high
As
school.
opposed to her sister Carla, who went to that fancy school.
Yeah. Yep. And Carla went to Smith, and Peggy went to University of Minnesota. Give me a break, you know. But I'm not sure that Peggy made her own problem, because Carla was a terrific student, and that may be the difference, and maybe Peggy was a so-and-so student, you know. But at some point after me and Marsh separated from Peggy, at some point I was told that she became a school teacher.
No.
In the Alexandria,
Washington, D.C. area?
Yeah.
You never stayed in touch with her?
No. I didn't. She never turned on her younger sister was a lot more lively than Peggy.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for sharing. It's a good share. Those are all important stories for Alex and Jules and Josh and Kika and me to hear, you know.
By the way, Julia is going to be 50 very shortly.
No way. Nobody from my generation can be 50. That's ridiculous. That's crazy talk.
She's going to, no, she is. This is her golden year. Which is what Kiko advised us on. We didn't know until Kiko told us.
Yeah.
That
It's a good reminder, hey? Like,
yeah.
that we're getting old. So how old does that make Auntie Hiroko?
She was born in with her sister, twin sister.
Auntie Aiko, yeah.
I think it was in March of 1945.
Wow. So Auntie Hiroko's older than Mom.
Is she?
Yeah. What year was the bomb? 48? 46? 46? 46?
No, 45.
45.
Twice. Hiroshima first, Nagasaki second. Yeah. Did you ever meet Tanos Adamopoulos?
Of course.
Yeah.
Uncle T. You and Uncle T had some good nights out. One or two. 1 or 2 nights out with Uncle T.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did, but I didn't smoke. Yeah, he's good fun.
High energy. He's great. Yeah.
Cool high energy, you know.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's done some good things. I suspect he's completely. I'd like to find that out. I'd like to find out if he's
Should we give him a call?
retired or.
I think he's still playing music, eh? We should give him a call.
Yeah, might do it.
All right, Pop. I love you.
Love
Thanks
you,
for
boy.
sharing. We'll give Uncle Thanos a call tomorrow.
Do you have his number? I suppose you do.
I'll try to track her down.